This is David Cowen, live from Legalweek 2026. I'm with Rian Kennedy, Director of Legal Wholesales at Disco. Ryan, how you doing?
Great. Good to see you.
It's good to see you. I mean, can you believe that we've been doing this for 2 decades? That's a generation.
It really is. It's kind of crazy to think about all this change in that time for sure.
You know, I made a comment to a previous guest that when I went over to the floor and I looked around, I'm like, wait, I don't recognize any of these banners, or I mean, I recognize them, but I'm like, wait, people are marking territory this year in a way that they did not last year or the year before. What comes up for you when you look
Yeah, well,
at the floor?
it's a new place, and so I think everyone's looking and seeing, hey, this is a new spot. What's different here? And I think every marketing department was like, how can we make a splash? How can we make it different? And I think people are paying attention too. Everyone's going and looking with eyes wide open of like, hey, I don't know this place. It's new. Let's look at it and let's see what's going on. And hopefully that'll keep on going throughout the week.
I think ALM, just want to shout out to ALM and Legal Week. Great job, great timing, great location. Hudson Yards has been transformed over the last 10 years. If you're a New Yorker, if you've been coming around New York for a little while, you go like, wait, where am I? And it's here. So that's transformed. This is Javits North, not the old Javits Center. Like, this is an actual, it couldn't be a better place, better time to go, like, brand new.
Yeah. Coming in, people were saying, oh, it's a Javits Center, and kind of a negative tone. And I feel like from what I've seen so far, it's fine. It's a new part of town for a lot of people. Change is hard for anyone. I like exploring New York and different places. Been down here a little bit, but not a lot. So excited to just walk the streets and walk the High Line, walk along the river, just be able to see everything.
There's great restaurants down here. And I don't think, here's the thing that keeps coming up. People say change is hard. I don't think people, tell me what you think about this. I don't think people are adverse to change. I think they're adverse to uncertainty. I don't mind change. I'm like all about change. I'm curious, and you're changing your locations and your vacations, and like your kids and your spouse and your significant other grow up and they're different every single day. It's the uncertainty.
Yeah.
It kills me.
Yeah, you could define it that way for sure.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit, if you will, about what you're seeing in terms of the appetite for change, transformation, and embracing that as you talk to clients, suspects, prospects, and clients.
Yeah, for sure.
In the market. What's changed in the last 12 months in terms of appetite and attitude?
Well, I would say that it started probably 5 years ago in the pandemic when everyone started to see like, hey, we need to be in the cloud. And that made law move faster than it ever has. Even if the rest of the world was moving fast, law was always behind. Now I think law is now seeing we need to be at the cutting edge of everything. And so in the past 12 months, with the acceptance of Gen AI more, being able to see companies, legitimate companies, come out with their products, come out with their ways of packaging that within their products, and having just building more into what they've already been doing. I know I can speak for Disco, where I'm at right now. We've had an AI lab for over 10 years. The last 3 years or so, getting in Gen AI, and then this year really rolling out our agentic AI. And so just moving really quickly in that space and seeing the adoption of clients, seeing that this is an actual need that they need. It's not something that's just pie in the sky anymore. It's something that they actually need to keep current and keep competitive in the marketplace as they're providing services to their clients too.
So it seems like there's two kinds of I'm going to break things into kind of black and white, chocolate and vanilla. There's the buyer suspect prospect that goes like, wow, look what we can do. Tech off the shelf, lots of it. Look what we can do. And then there's the more advanced, sophisticated, mature, or experienced that says, what if? How does that world break down to how you see, like, who's showing up here at Legal Week this week? I'm looking for something. I'm shopping. I'm going to take it for test drive versus I'm buying and I want to push it to the next limit.
It's always been the innovators that win in this space, in tech. Someone who is saying, let's build with you. Let's get there together. Let's see what the latest is and see how that can apply, because we want to start using it before it becomes everyone else's, table stakes. They want to help build it because they basically, are selfish in some ways that way, where they want their department to have the best and be able to use the best right away. and probably at a discounted rate if they're the guinea pig. So I love it working with that. Our products have been built that way with our clients in mind, with our clients right next to us telling us this is how we need it, this is what we need. And they're the ones that benefit if they're able to crawl with us at the beginning.
You spend a lot of time with corporate counsel. Corporate counsel is beginning to insource more and more and realizing, wow, look what we can do.
Yeah.
And they're doing it. Whose lunch are they eating as they do that? What's the relationship look like between inside counsel and outside counsel right now?
I think they're expecting outside counsel to use all the latest tech. And if they're not, they're starting to realize like, hey, we need to insource this ourselves and then allow outside counsel to do what they do best with the strategy side of things for cases that they're on. In our case, if we're talking about e-discovery or anything. And then just, hey, how much can we really rely on the outside counsel to select the right tech for us? Because so much is now involved with, it's not just a legal decision. It's so many departments that are involved that are internal, with your IT, with your HR, with other departments that make it much bigger story than just, hey, legal wants this cool tool and they are legal, they're asking for it, so let's give it to them. It's now, hey, we need to make sure this fits with our whole ecosystem and with the business.
You saw this, you and I both saw this once before in, sort of the e-discovery, the birth of the e-discovery segment of the marketplace, where that was, cutting edge legal tech at the time. And that was corporations were overwhelmed. They'd outsource everything to their outside counsel. Outside counsel, fees and rates were crazy. ALSPs came in and said, we can do it for cheaper.
Yep.
We can do it cheaper. And then there was this balance, right? So and then it sort of balance out gets solved. It feels like we're there again where inside counsel, so corporate counsel says, hey, we can do this. They rely on outside counsel, only outside counsel this time is a lot more savvy than they were 20 years ago or 10 years ago. And like there are players that grew up through e-discovery that are tech savvy, financial savvy, business savvy, social savvy. There's a savvy project management. There's a savviness in it that wasn't there 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting thing. I think there's always a pendulum of, do we want to keep this in-house and do that? Budgets have been tight for in-house counsel the last few years, I think. And so that's been hard. So some of the ALSPs probably have done well with that, being able to staff for specific technical positions.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think they've been kind of middle grounding it that way. And then now it's moving towards, hey, with tech, what can we do here? We're seeing huge tech companies, lay off 40% of their company, which they can do because they have the tech backup. And that's not even just legal, but, just the whole industry, tech industry overall. And I think that we're going to see some of that and people testing the waters to see, does that work? Do we really need all these people? And what I hate about that is it's people. And that comes first in this business. If you've been in it for decades, you know that it's all about the people and the trust that you have with that. And so it's hard to think about the non-people side of it. And you can save all this money maybe, but there is still that piece where you need that human element in the loop and in concert with everything that's going on.
I talk to a lot of people right now that are getting into level 2 and level 3 of what I'm calling and what's being called the AI dividend. So the early AI dividend is I can save time, I can save money. Level 2 on the AI dividend is I have more capability and more capacity and better quality. And that, what I'm hearing from inside counsel, right, is that with the capability and the capacity and the quality, they're doing more work. They're doing things they could never do before. So it feels like this is something that resonates. And I want to know if you can riff on this a little bit and we'll take it to the next level. So let's say in my house, I've got a garage, I've got an attic, and I have a basement. There's no way I'm touching any of those things. Okay. Like I'm just not, I don't have time. It would take a year to get all of that organized. Let's say, well, now all of a sudden, tech comes along and says, here's everything you have in these 3 places. We're going to organize it. And therefore, my garage, my basement, and my attic are now are organized, and I know where things are, gotten rid of what I don't need. That time that I didn't spend on that now allows me to spend time either on a new project, right? A new project in the house, a new project in business. Just I'm riffing on I couldn't do these things that I had to do, and now I can do something new. That's kind of where I'm trying to get to. Can you riff that out for me a little bit?
Yeah, I mean,
Can you make that sound better than I did?
well, it's the same thing that, the more that you get from tech, then you have to pay for it. And so then you have to work harder. So you think you're going to have extra time, but then you have to work harder to pay for it and figure all that out. And I think that there's still a piece of it that there's going to be some gotchas as well, where as much as you want to move quickly and use the tech to get through everything fast and well and get everything organized, there's going to be some, oh, we didn't think about that. We didn't think that if we organize it this way, we're going to lose out on this fidelity. And now we're going to get in trouble with privacy. Now we're going to get in trouble with some other compliance related issue.
I was thinking the opposite is that let's assume a better outcome on that, not the downside, but the upside, which is I can now spend time on privacy, security, governance. I can now take some of my attorneys or some of my staff and move them towards projects that I couldn't get to before. This is what I'm hearing from some inside counsel saying, I said, what are you doing with your AI dividend? They said, I now have meetings with my team that I never had time to have before. And we're now looking at, well, what else, what can we do with our time? And they're picking up projects and they're going from legal ops to business ops. They're spending more time with sales. They're spending more time in front of contracts, not after contracts, not taking in, like that's kind of done already. Now they're saying, I wonder what else we could do. So I'm thinking about the intellectual horsepower, right? Like just pure intellectual horsepower that, your average quality law department has, whether it's, 5 or 5,000, 5 or 500 attorneys, there's intellectual horsepower there. These are radically curious people to a large extent. That's how they got to where they are. Not all of them. I'll bell curve it if you want, right? So we'll take 20% are like propeller heads and radically curious, and then there's another 30%, and half are not. But the half that are driving remarkably new initiatives. Are you seeing any of that yet?
I haven't seen anyone get it right like that, like you're saying yet, where they've...
Hold on one second. Mo, no more coffee for me, okay? Right. Ryan says that's not true.
No, I mean, I think that, I don't know the whole industry like you get to see everywhere.
Yeah.
I think I've seen little pieces of that maybe, but it's more what I've seen. I can speak for like legal ops, especially. They were super focused on the contract side of things. They've kind of figured that out.
Absolutely.
Either with pre kind of redlining kind of stuff, the post AI organization kind of way of doing things. It's kind of figured out in a lot of ways, and they've built that really well.
And become really business savvy.
Yes.
And tech savvy in the process.
Yeah.
And project management savvy.
And so they are looking for, okay, what's next?
There you go.
Okay. So in that sense, I have seen it a little bit that way, where they're like at that point now, we figured this out, we built this, and we put things in place to make this company steady and ready. Now what else can we do? And we are seeing, and if you want to know, like kind of what we're talking to a lot of our clients about is, hey, you guys are in charge of the litigation budget. What are you doing with that budget? You see that it's kind of this nebulous bubble. And in the past, it might've been, hey, litigation comes up, give the money. It's litigation. We can't do anything about it. What if you had more insight into that? What if you had the ability to control that with tech spend, with some way bringing that in-house to some extent? If you are able to do that, reduce outside counsel spend, reduce the amount of time spent overall, all of those kinds of things like you're talking about. I think that's kind of where one of the next steps is, where we're seeing some of our clients move towards. It's a really good story that we have. I represent our legal hold product. And so a lot of companies are looking to just shore up that piece of it, where they're saying, okay, let's at least do that, because right now it's kind of manual, or we don't really have a great process, or we have 5 different vendors and we want to just consolidate things so we can have our e-discovery and our hold all in one place. And we're seeing that a little bit more these days.
I would imagine if you could put those two things together, which you're doing, you can interrogate that data in a way that you never could before.
It's a way to make sure that all these new sources of data are preserved so that it's there when you need it. I think in the past it's been a not haphazard, but you'd have to have a workflow and not an automated way to do it. And it's becoming more and more automated.
Of the core four LLMs in the marketplace right now, what's your favorite? You sort of force rank them for me. So there's Claude, there's Copilot, there's ChatGPT, there's Gemini, and then there's Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. So I'm just going to go with the core four, unless you want to put Mo, Curly, and Larry in there.
Yeah, company-wise, we're Google, so Gemini is mandated.
Good plug, way to go! Yes,
and so we got to do that, which is great because it integrates with all of the applications that we use, and you can summarize your emails at the end of the day. Did I miss anything? Just kind of productivity things like that for personal use and all. But for my personal side of things, I use ChatGPT. That's what I first learned in.
Yep.
I like being able to talk to it in my car and just learn that way on something that I'm curious about. Copilot, I haven't had a ton of time with. I've sat in on a lot of conferences that talk about it and hear about how you're able to do so much with all the applications that they have within the Microsoft suite that makes it very powerful, which is very cool to hear and see what's going on there. And then as far as Claude, I have not had a lot of experience with it. I know that we've looked into it as a company and have used it and everything too. But yeah, with their legal plugin that they've created, trying to disrupt the market in some ways, and it shouldn't affect us, but it does affect us just because we're lumped in with.
It affects everybody.
But it's I know it's not going to replace us yet as a purpose-built software that we have, but it definitely is something to look at.
Yeah, I love to tell the joke that on Valentine's Day weekend, I left my wife for Claude with a hall pass. I got a hall pass from my wife. I said, "Can I leave you for the weekend for Claude?" And I spent 4 hours, which is all I needed. I gave Claude the same work that I'd given Copilot that week.
Okay.
It crushed it.
Really?
Oh my God. It was a better experience. It was more thorough. It was more me. The first instruction I said, my name's David Cowen. I'm the founder of the Cowen Group. I've been in staffing and recruiting. I'm the founder of Solid. I have the Cowen Cafe and CBL. Find out everything you can about me and tell me about myself. And like in 90 seconds, it told me more about me in a way about me. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty interesting. And then I said, read, and it's linked to Google Docs, as you know. I said, read everything I've ever written about Solid and tell me about Solid. And like, I couldn't believe, first of all, I couldn't believe the command that I could do that. Like somebody had suggested, read everything I've ever written and tell me, like, you can fill in the blank. Like if you tried that, have you tried that yet?
No.
Like, what do you want to know about yourself? Like, read everything I've ever written about.
There's part of me that's just, I still don't want to share everything with the LLMs yet. Just because, from a personal level, just privacy kind of things, that not wanting to point it to my social security number. And like, I saw something where a bot sold someone by Bitcoin, or not even sold, they gave it away to someone because they asked for it by accident. Those kinds of things that are just like, I don't want it to be to know everything and point to everything that I own. So I don't let it do that yet. So yeah.
There's somebody in security that's listening to this right now going, Cowen, you're a knucklehead. Like, I can't believe you did that. There's somebody else going, that's such a cool idea. I want to do it. And then there's a security guy out there. It's calling me a knucklehead. So I've got two fans.
You can't go wrong though. It's you can go wrong, but there is something about that curiosity where it would be fun for me to do something like that. And then the other side of the brain tells me like, just hold back a little bit.
Fantastic. That's crazy. What are you most looking forward to? We're going to wrap up here a little bit. So Here we are. Not our first rodeos. I am most looking forward to just seeing how the market shapes out. I'm kind of vibing it a little bit. I've seen the big signs. I'm like, okay, these are indicators. These are, these are the lights towards where things are going or not, but it tends to be directional. What about you? What are you most looking forward to?
I think that what's kind of fun is seeing what's all out there and wondering what's going to be around next year, what's going to be around 2 years from now. I always say, the Bates stamper was the best legal tech for the longest time because it was invented in 1890 and, still used in the 2000s. So over 100 years of legal tech. I don't think anything's going to last that long anymore. Things are going to switch and move faster than that. But it'll be interesting to see what's new this year and what we're going to look back on next year and say, that was silly.
Yeah, that's my second thing, which is my second favorite thing about Legal Week is I call it shopping the back wall.
Okay.
Right. So the back wall is where the small first year, startups are, and you've never heard of these guys. And
Cool innovation though.
well, yeah,
Sometimes.
yeah. You don't know. And, I'm looking at people that are now with the giant banners going, I remember you from the back wall 3 years ago. And now you've gotten $100 million in funding or more.
Wow. Yeah.
And, it's fascinating. So the back wall is my second favorite thing. And then, of course, meeting new people and saying hello to, you and
old friends
and colleagues.
I love that. I haven't worked at too many companies, but I like to stay for longer periods of times. But I've seen so many people that already, being here for half a day now and already seen so many people from past companies and seeing what they're doing and new things that they're doing, mostly just talking personally with them though. And that's a huge part of why we come here, I think too, is just to connect with people and make sure that we're all moving towards the same direction.
It's a great community. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's early. It's the first day here, and I can't wait to see what happens over the next 4.
Well, thank you.
All right. Thank you. If you enjoyed this show, be sure to give us a like and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else you get your shows. And if you want to take your career from now to next, never eat alone.